to Gab and Jam, episode 308.
And what are we talking about today?
All right, so the question is, who wants to be a one-hit wonder? And I'm talking specifically to our DIY rock stars.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's a silly question, I'm not sure. But we're celebrating One Hit Wonder Day, which is September 25th. It was established in 1990 by music journalist Steve Rosen.
Okay.
And it was intended to remember artists whose 5 minutes of fame, once upon a time, have left us their song as our memory. Kind of the soundtrack of our life.
Yeah. So like, aha.
Yeah, so there is an entire list, and actually, I'm going to bring it up. Let me see. Come on, honey. You can do it. Yeah, Chrome. So, yeah, they got 100 folks on the list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's the top 100. Some of them, they don't even have links on this list, but we'll put...
I don't know if that's right about... I just saw Billy Paul on that list. I might have to take...
well, this is VH1, but yes, all right. Yeah, Billy Paul, Jones,
I don't know.
Big Country. All right, so a couple things. What we wanted to talk about was... Let me go back up. Oh yeah. So all of this prompted us to ask, who wants to be a one-hit wonder? Because I know when you were younger, you had a different view of it, and now that you're older, have a different perspective. So do you want to share what your perspective was?
I mean, it's like right now that I'm at a point I wouldn't mind being a one-hit wonder. That okay. to me, I think maybe we tend to think it's easy, or we. Maybe easy is not the right word, but I think sometimes we underestimate, I guess, what it takes to have a hit song.
Okay.
You know, I mean, because we look at artists who are established, who have had tons of hits.
Right.
But we don't look at them, I think, proportionally. So we don't look at them thinking about the number of songs that are released, even back in the day when the majors were putting out songs. So of the songs that they might, of the artists that they might have signed to a label. You know, how many artists that they have signed to a label that you just never heard of? Got record deals, you never heard of them from whatever record deal that they had, you know. So it's just like, I think Johnny Gill was saying that he had a record out when he was like 14, 15 or 17. He had a record deal at that time. They had released records on him at that time. I had never heard of him.
Right.
I hadn't really heard of him until he got with New Edition. Right. You know, but had other things happen. I think about Marcus Miller. Marcus Miller had a solo record where he was singing and things like that. And I'm saying that and never heard of it. Right.
Definitely not in real time.
With the Jamaica Boys.
Yeah.
And I never really heard anything of it. And Fiddler, you know, had like a deal with Elektra.
Yeah.
You know, came out that never heard. There's a ton of artists. Like, I think people don't know that Control was not Janet Jackson's first album. It was her third album. Right? She had two albums before that.
Right.
You know, that really didn't do much of anything. So,
and she's a major person. So,
So a lot of people don't get that second, you know, bite at the apple. You know, once that thing happens for them, you know. I mean, and we've had friends, you know, that had a record label, label deals, you know, good songwriters, all the rights, this kind of stuff. Songs come out, label, you know, puts out their record,
and then I guess for a couple of hours it was local hits, but I don't know if it ever made it on a national chart.
But I'm just saying, but did not do it nationally. I mean, you know, so we've seen this happen time and time again. And it has nothing to do with the talent or lack of talent of the artist or anything like that. So to me, when you think about someone, you think about the Knack with My Sharona, you think about Tommy Two-Tone with 8675309 Jenny, and some of these songs that we know that are part of kind of our national lexicon. I don't think it's that easy to get something like that, to have something happen like that. So to the extent that you have a viral moment with whatever song that you do, I think you have to relish it. I think you have to have it in perspective. You know, meaning that, you know, I mean, and that's up to you what perspective you want to give it. You know, because maybe some people have been able to make a career out of a one hit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, so I think of like, you know, we're friends with Eddie Floyd Jr. And, you know, I know his father had a big hit with Knock on Wood, right? And he made a, you know, career out of that. You know what I mean? And so So I don't belittle that.
Yeah.
You know, to me, you know, to have a song like that, that, you know, endures over time, and people still are singing it. I mean, that's a magical moment to have. You know, I mean, and Eddie Floyd probably had other hits, but I'm saying that he's definitely most known for that one. So
yeah, they have some folks on here who they don't even have the link, because I mean, I don't know David Naughton making it. And we do know Mary Jane Girls in my house. They don't even have a link for it.
Yeah, but then there's other things too. It's like, you know, depending on who the artist is, like I was just saying about, you know, Billy Paul. It's like, you know, it's like, wait a minute, I know War of the Gods. I know the whole town's talking. I know, you know, so when they kind of say that he just had that, like, you know, so sometimes it might be proportionally. It's kind of like what we were talking about before, with like a Taylor Swift versus a Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? That people who are in like minority communities, you know, might not know Taylor Swift, but everybody knows Michael Jackson.
Right. No matter what community you're in, white or black. Yeah.
When they're looking at a black artist, a lot of time, especially at that particular point in time, it's not as much like that anymore. I think black artists don't necessarily have to cross over anymore. But back in the day, a black artist had to cross over. Yeah. So you would have, there are certain people who were kind of like, People Bryson, you know, might be a person who is probably more black famous than anything else. You know, I think it is Eric Benet. He's more black famous.
Probably Van Hunt.
You know,
I don't know.
Van Hunt may have
a little odd, but
yeah, but I'm saying that I don't think Van Hunt ever established himself on black radio.
No, but
and then that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so you said Dustin and Wynn was more of a crossover.
Yeah, because I heard Dustin and Wynn on like VH1.
Okay.
And I didn't hear it like on BT.
Okay.
The first place I heard it was like MTV.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like Living Color. Living Color wasn't that type of group.
Right.
Because you know their first record came out that way, but like Prince started off being black famous. So you know, like I Want to Be a Lover.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it might have done some things on the pop charts, but it was really, you know, a #1 R&B thing, and so it was like up until Prince did 1999, did he start to really legitimately cross over. Okay. And understand too, when 1999 first came out, it was only a black record. And so it did marginally well on the pop charts. They re-released it after Little Red Corvette. Okay. So Little Red Corvette came out and they had the video and it played on MTV. It was a hit. And then they re-released 1999 as a single. And then it did well because he crossed over.
Right.
And so you used to have that with black artists, but you don't have that anymore with black artists, you know. So so that might kind of skew some of these as far as looking at them as one-hit wonders.
It's supposed to be the top, according to VH1, top 100 of all time.
Right.
Again, we'll put the link below so that you can look at it yourself.
Yeah.
And of course, like you said, I guess for most, even DIY rock stars, or especially nowadays, everybody wants to go viral. So obviously, it seems like most people want to be at least a one-hit wonder, because if you go viral and it takes you someplace, then you have done, you know, that like you said is a major feat.
It is.
Are actually seeking that.
Yeah.
So
and I think that's the toughest part about being a one-hit wonder. Would be, I think, you know, how do you deal with it? You know, do you chase the moment?
Right.
Do you know, are you constantly trying to replicate that?
Yeah.
Or do you kind of allow yourself to subside into some, you know, let me think about like somebody like a Bobby McFerrin.
Okay.
So Bobby McFerrin had that big hit with "Don't Worry, Be Happy," right? You know, and it was top of the charts and all the rest of this kind of stuff. And then Bobby McFerrin went on to do what Bobby McFerrin does.
Right.
You know what I mean? He just stayed the type of artist he was, and that's it. And so that became a blip on the screen.
Yeah.
But he's still known as this jazz artist, vocalist that he's always been, right?
Yeah.
You know, so that's one way of kind of dealing with it. Especially when it's something where it's along the line of what you always do anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And it just happens to hit. You know, I think that would be, if it was to happen to me, I guess that would be the best way.
Yeah. So just keep it, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
So the #1 on the list, which was surprising to me, was Los Del Rio's Macarena is at the #1 spot, right?
Yeah.
But the most surprising entry to me is Aha's Take On Me is at #8.
Yeah.
And we hear it everywhere now.
Yeah, we do.
And people are, doing sound-alikes. I'm going to say popular music artists. I'm not going to name names.
Yeah.
But they have done so many different versions. Interpolation, is that how we call it?
Yeah, but I don't know if there's so much, because that's when they actually take a piece.
Okay, no, okay,
you know
all
what I mean?
right.
So a lot of them have been inspired.
By,
and
there's
and
so
maybe,
many different ones.
And maybe you can even say been inspired by that 80s sound.
Yeah, but
that synth pop sound that was happening.
It specifically sounds like Take On Me.
Yeah.
And then, so favorite for me is Divinal's I Touch Myself.
Yeah.
That was one that I still love. When I hear it, it just brings me back. And then, of course, Eddie Grant's Electric Avenue.
Yeah, so. Eddie Grant's another guy that, kind of just went on, did his own thing. I mean, he had his own studio and all the rest of this kind of stuff. So Eddie Grant's doing great.
Right.
Don't feel sorry for Eddie Grant.
Don't cry for me.
Yeah, matter of fact, Eddie Grant has taken a stance against, streaming services and what they're playing artists that he don't think that it is fair. Mm-hmm. So you can't find his stuff online.
Wow.
Like that. So, it's like one time I was looking to just add, Electric Avenue, and I couldn't add it because of that. And I kind of looked it up, and it's like, no, he's taking a stance against streaming. Wow. So, right on Eddie Grant, So.
And the last on the list, which is what we talked about a couple episodes ago, Kung Fu Fighting Carl Douglas.
Yeah.
So that was number 100. All right.
Yeah. And the thing that kind of surprised me is that, one of Kiss's biggest songs, it might be their biggest song. I probably have to fact check me on this. So, hey, you guys, you need to be interacting anyway. So let me know if I'm lying here. But I Was Made for Loving You, the Kiss disco song, which from what I understand, Paul Stanley kind of wrote it as like a challenge. Kind of saying, I could write a disco song. I could do this. It don't take nothing to do this. And, and they pulled this thing. And he wrote it with Desmond Child.
Oh, wow.
So Desmond Child co-wrote I Was Made for Loving You. Yeah. And that's like Kiss's biggest hit. And it's a polarizing kind of song, I think, among the Kiss Army, right?
I was about to say,
is that, there are people who love it and there are people that hate it because it's Kiss's disco moment.
I love it.
But I love that part about it. I just think sometimes popular music could learn something about that disco era, because there were people who did their versions of disco songs, so like the Rolling Stones with Miss You. That's the Rolling Stones version of a disco song.
Oh,
but
that sounds like another
that song is if you listen to it, you don't feel like the Stones sold out.
Right.
That song is quintessential the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
It's the Stones doing disco.
Yeah.
And that's the way I felt about the Kiss song.
Yeah.
I felt like it's still Kiss.
Yeah.
Doing this type of song, right?
But it's a song I like. So.
But it's not like they're kind of just changing things up to try to fit. It's like even when you think about and maybe like the Michael, or let's take Shake Your Body Down to the Ground. That's more in the disco realm, right? But that is the Jacksons doing their take on disco.
Yeah.
That's the way that they do it. Or Lady, You Bring Me Up When I'm Down. That's the Commodores doing their take on disco.
Yeah.
So it's that's where I think
we should do a playlist for that, but that'll be a different episode.
Yeah, that to me was the interesting aspect of that, is that people had their or do you think I'm sexy? That's Rod Stewart
doing
his take on that. And they're not just generic sounding songs.
No.
As much as to me, I think I don't know, you can still see the artistry.
Yeah.
So
you still feel their persona, their brand, or their personality.
They're just kind of doing this dance type of song, but they're not just completely selling out. So I'm saying that I would like to see, I guess, artists today. It's like if you're Drake and you're gonna take on Afrobeat, don't just sound like another Afrobeat person, but do Drake doing Afrobeat, or do Beyonce doing Afrobeat, or whoever you're gonna be, just remember to bring yourself to
the
it.
song.
You know, and I guess you could say that with this the Beyonce's last record, that you know that she kind of added more of herself to it. You know, to say, okay, this is my take on that. And I'm saying that's the thing I think a lot of times we're missing. With some of the newer artists when they take on certain
they lose
things,
the soul because they just give all themselves away and take on the other persona.
You can't lose yourself within it. You know, I still should be able to feel and see you in it. So
all right, so what do you guys think? Is being a one-hit wonder good or bad to you? What are your aspirations? We'd love to hear. Put it in the comments below. And what else?
And Obtanium Flow. We're on our 6th single?
6th single.
Off of that, so it'll be So Restless.
So Restless.
And we'll be doing a live stream on that on the October 20th. That's
at
right.
7 p.m. Eastern.
And that is a Friday.
It is.
Yes, indeed.
So we hope to meet you all there.
Yeah.
And what else? Oh, t-shirts.
Yeah, t-shirts. You got that, got that kind of stuff.
Flow.
Yeah.
Then we got clouds. I'll put it on the screen, but clouds, t-shirts. So make sure you check that out. The links will be below.
Yeah.
If you dig the vibe and you want to be a part of the tribe, be sure to
subscribe.
We're wishing you love, peace, and
chicken grease.